I had like a 16-inch bike in the 70s, probably when I was about 5 years old. This is Raleigh Speedway, I think it was. I don't know if you remember that bike, which was like a BMX, but I didn't know what BMX was. And I lived in Shetland Islands at the time, and we were like making ramps in the street and jumping ramps and everything. And I would have been like 8 or 9 years old. And then in the start of '83, I saw E.T. and I couldn't believe it. That was just like, they had bikes, like the thing I wanted to ride, and I wanted that bike. It took me about half a year before I got the bike for my birthday, which would have been my 10th birthday in '83. Black and gold Rally Ultra Burner, so it was like a really nice bike, yeah. So, and that was like, I remember sitting looking at the catalogue every night in bed, you know, every night for months and months waiting. But I was just obsessed from then, still am. Everyone had a BMX then, like everyone, and there's so many burners. I remember guys jumping off like garage roofs, older guys than me, and my friend had like a little BMX track in his garden. And then I think this night, like next year, my dad had to move because he worked in for BP in the oil industry. So we ended up moving to Portlethen, which is just outside Aberdeen, which is probably really lucky because there was a big BMX scene there. But by the time we moved there, the BMX track, no one was racing anymore, but they had a quarter pipe and a kick-turn ramp and stuff, and a lot of guys riding there every weekend. And I was one of the younger kids then, but like I think we moved at the right time to catch all that for a year or so before everyone fell out of it, you know. So. What did you learn from your time? I think in '85 there was a competition near us, and my dad took me down to it, and it was the start of '85. I got second place in that. And then we got invited to this competition in Edinburgh, which was like 100 riders. I can't remember what it was called, but Craig Campbell was there, Neil Ruffell and all that. But I was only 12, I didn't really know what was going on. And we went to the comp and it was horrible. Compulsory tricks and everything. And it was like, I was just a little kid, you know, like I'd got a new bike, like an Amico Freestyle Ace with Skyway wheels and that. And I was struggling to ride. And my dad just said, let's go. And we went to Livy instead that day. I think the next year, probably in '86, is when I met like David Frame and Paul Robertson and these guys, and we went to a contest in Aberdeen, and I was like, my friends are like, oh yeah, you got it, and then I got there and met these guys, and they were like so much better than me, you know, and you know, because we were riding a quarter pipe in our local park and maybe getting like a foot of air, but doing things like no foot can-cans and whatever else, and then there's Framey, you know, Livy local, like growing up riding Livy, and just could do all this other shit, you know, like he was so good. But I don't really think I was a very competitive. We were just going along. It was something we did with our friends, going to comps. It was a great time, you know. Like, but yeah, we had a shit quarter pipe, and that's about all we got to ride, you know. So. What did you learn from your time in the solitary cell of your mind? There was noise to distraction from anything good, and the old prison. With the chaos of trouble, 'cause anything's better than posh isolation. I miss the buzz. I remember at the end of '88 there was a contest in Inverness, and that was the last Scottish BFA comp, and that's when street riding was kind of a new thing, and people were doing wall rides and grinding, and it was really good, but that was it. And then the next year in '89, skating really took off and BMX just died. But I think that was a real pivotal moment, the change, when things really went from kind of quarter pipes and all that stuff to mini ramps, you know, and street riding, and that's where I really thought BMX got good. Back then, 16 was too old to have a BMX bike, so it pretty much went from this scene where I lived in Portlethen to just me and my friend Peter Lindsay riding, and that was it. I think it was more because BMX was seen as a kid's thing back in the day. Lots of people just left it, you know, but I love BMX, like, and nothing was going to stop me from riding, and we wanted to do it, and we would travel at the weekends to go to Dundee or up north or wherever to ride with our friends, and you know, there was like mini ramps popping up, like, and you know, like back gardens or whatever, and we'd just go anywhere to ride, you know. So it was something we did, and like, why wouldn't you do that, you know, like. That's something that's different in BMX now. I think people are all about, you know, likes and popularity and that. You got to remember, back then it was like a weird thing to do at that point, you know, as was skateboarding in a way. And I liked the fact that it was an oddball thing, you know, like, you know, people laughed at you for wearing Vans shoes or something like that. Yeah, so fun. So back then, you know, you're looking at RAD magazine and Nick Phillips, and then they're talking about zines and, you know, like people are making them, and I'd like to make things. So yeah, so basically like, wow, we could do some photocopying at school and try and recreate these pictures, and then you're like, oh, you can write a little bit and put some pictures in, whatever else. So I made a few, but that's like still at school, they're not very good. David Slade's Smart People in a Car Crash. Well, that was another one we thought was great, but I mean, it's kind of hard to watch, but the riding was really good. And Will Smith was doing the Jive videos, which are great as well. So like, it was like the next thing from the zine. Here's something you can actually do, because like in the 80s, you couldn't have like had a video camera and been able to edit it, but all of a sudden you could do it yourself. So it was like a new thing to try out, you know. I remember being at Scott Carroll's house in about 89, and we saw a Dorkin video, and it was a really bad quality copy, and we were like, holy fuck, you know, like, look at this. It was really like unbelievable, the riding. And I really wanted to get a video camera after that, and I think it was probably like the late in 1990 I got a camera and made the first video that I made, yeah. And we were just like filming everything. We'd go out and film every single thing, and you know, just put in a video with some music. We'd film stuff and I'd sit in my room and edit it, and then the first video I made was called Static Mode, which wasn't under any name, and I couldn't even watch it now, you know. But there's probably some good stuff in it, but it was like riding at Livy and it was Alfred and BFA comp back in the late 90s, and we went and stayed at Scoff's Ramp in York and filmed there, and yeah, so it was good stuff. And then the next year was 91, and I think we went to King of Concrete, and then just ended up staying down around London and all this for like weeks and weeks, like staying in a crappy bed and breakfast place in Paddington in London. Went to Mons Jam and yeah, filmed loads of stuff, and that became Stress Kings, the video, which, you know, then we were looking for a name, and then BSD became the name that we put that out under, you know. So it had Bless My Zero, it was on the cover of the box, but that was the first time BSD became something, you know. But we were just all kids having a laugh, you know, it wasn't very serious, yeah. And we were just trying to put in the funniest stuff as well as like make a good video, you know. Like, it's business now, and people have to portray an image for a company rather than just like a group of friends, you know. So that, you know, like kind of drives it in a way, and like everything's just picked over and, you know, like put, you know, under a microscope, you know, these days. So like, obviously with BSD now we're trying to make really good bike videos, but they're an advert for our brand as well as anything else, you know. But I think you need to keep some humour in BMX, yeah. I went in 89 and we didn't go in 1990, and then we went from 91 onwards, and I think 91 there was a big gang of Scottish people, because we all like bumped into each other at the train station in London and took the train to Southsea together, and there was Sandy Timmins, Andy Burke, you know, Amos, myself, and all the Aberdeen guys like Peter Lindsay and Ross Sewage and all that lot, you know. So yeah, John Bultgens. So I don't know, we were like this crazy gang, but well, it seemed like that, I think, yeah. I just think because we all got together and we were all like 18 years old or whatever, we were just like up for what, you know, to party, drink, ride. You could just get up and you could probably not sleep and still ride the next day. Not the kind of thing you could do these days, you know. So we were just having a laugh, really, yeah. I think they just, everyone was crazy anyway, you know. We were like going down there with no money, nowhere to stay, maybe a sleeping bag, not even thinking about, you know, what's going to happen. Like, it's just crazy, you know. Was it 92, I got beat up by skinheads at Southsea and ended up in hospital, but at least I got a place to stay for the night, you know. So in the 90s, like GT and Harrow really sucked, yeah. But then look at the early 90s, Bully had the fucking amazing image, but it was a pretty bad bike, wasn't it? But one of the nicest looking things going, you know. So I mean, these are the big ones you're talking about, like Schwinn and Mongoose, things like that. They're not, but that's really what the choice was then. If you weren't going to ride an S&M or a Standard or a Hoffman, it was really that. The thing is, like Moliterno, he did it right from the engineering side. They did it really well. I remember Paul Robertson, Colin Smith going out there in '93, but they came back with these super heavy bikes, but they were really nicely made. But it was the heaviest thing on the planet. Whereas like we were riding like an S&M dirt bike, which was kind of like a light bike, which is more what I would want to ride, but it wasn't made to the quality that the standards were made, you know. Hoffman stuff, yeah, I don't know, it just seemed like something else by the side to me, you know. I don't know, I'm sure it was good, but I was at uni doing mechanical engineering, doing projects at uni, like making a hub as a project, that kind of thing, so I was really interested in it. And then I got a job as a mechanical engineer and worked in laser industry in Glasgow. This went on for a long time, but because I was working with machine shops, I was getting them to mod bits for bikes or, you know, make something, whatever. And then I was like, oh look, could we make this chainring? And I showed them like a 44 tooth sprocket. I was like, these things always bend, can we make something thick? So we drew up this chainring, made it, and it worked, and I was like, wow, you know, but it's actually strong, so when you land a disaster on it or whatever, it doesn't bend. So I started making those, which was just along the road in Glasgow here, and that was the start of making parts, and we made a lot of them. We sent it to the magazines, and it was in like Ride magazine, and it sold quite a lot of them, yeah, and they just kept making them. And then smaller sprockets came out, so we made 36 tooth chain rings, and then we made a hub that would take like a 14 tooth freewheel, and you know, and it's just, but it was hard because we were making things here, and it wasn't until I went to Interbike in 2008 and we showed stuff there, and then I was like, wow, people really, you know, do this all the time as a job. And I came back from Interbike that year, and I was like, I'm going to quit my job and just do this full time. And by the start of 2009, that's what I did.
I was lost, now
a bit of a gamble, and it took a while for that. It's like, that was pretty scary because I was leaving a good paid job to try and do this full time, and you know, it worked out, but you know, the first few years is pretty pretty gnarly when you just like, you know, drop everything you've got for that. Yeah, well, I think it's that thing where you got to get over fear to go for something, you know. I could have just stayed in the safety of that job and had a nice pension and went to work every day, and it would have been fine, but I just wanted to do something else. I don't know, it's nice to scare yourself, isn't it? Because I didn't want to come out with everything at once. We just came out with things as we did them, yeah. Because I thought it was better to like get each thing right and then move on to the next thing. Because you see a lot of company appears out of nowhere, they've got everything, yeah. And you know, they're a complete bike company with every part, but there's kind of no history there, and there's no kind of proving the design either, you know. I don't really like that way of doing it. We're a small company, we were just like, right, we've done a frame now, right, we're going to do, you know, a fork next or whatever, you know. You know, you could make a full BSD setup now, but we didn't. We could have just like took catalogue parts years ago and done that, but I didn't want to do that with anything, you know. So it's really important that it was all our design and, you know, what the riders wanted. It was like a time when web videos are quite a new thing, you know, back in like, I'm talking 2008, 2009, that kind of time. And then we did Ride to Glory in 2010, and that was probably like a pivotal moment as a change for BSD, because then a lot of people still didn't know about it, but then there's a magazine going out in the UK with a free DVD on the cover, you know, with all these teams on it, and we were one of those teams, and it was a real big deal for us to get asked on that, you know. Yeah. The videos are the main advert for the brand, really, aren't they? I think, yeah. And we've done hundreds of videos now. Yeah, because I knew lots of people from the past. If that's something about the early 90s, like, we knew people all over, you know, all these people that are big players in the industry now are like friends of ours we used to ride with like 25 years ago, so had connections all over from that. Some of them maybe didn't like me, but you know, that all helped, you know, so yeah. And like, we had the support of magazines like Dig and Ride as well, and you know, because even back then, you know, like 7-8 years ago, those things were still a big influence, you know, a big thing in the scene. I mean, there's things I like. I mean, S&M Bikes is something I've looked up to. I went there in '93 and stayed with the POW house and that, and I loved the way they were just like punk fuck you attitude, you know, like they really didn't care about anything. They're just wild guys, and it was like, that is the BMX I'd like, because BMX is a kind of wild thing anyway, you know. You can't be making it look like Apple Mac computers or something, because it isn't, you know. It should be portrayed as what it is, you know. So from my point of view, it's like that, you know, drunk, fucking crazy people riding bikes, because, you know, like, you're not a tennis player. Well, we were lucky enough that, like 15 years ago, this guy called Chip Maley contacted me through the bike shop here, saying, I'm going to build a skate park. And I was like, oh, we heard it all before. And we drove out to Dumbarton that night, and he had that big warehouse, which is now Hall 1. And we were like, get some wood, we're going to start building it tomorrow. And it just grew into something huge, you know. It's like 15 years later. But, you know, like, for instance, Chris Kyle, he was just this little kid that turned up one day from Stranraer, which is pretty far away. And I've probably never seen someone so natural on a bike, you know. But he was, I don't know how old he was then, 12 or 13, but like absolutely shredding. But just like, he wouldn't even speak to you because he was so shy. But you know, there's a prime example of like meeting someone who ended up being a team rider for us, you know, like that was just through the unit, you know. But it's not about riding at all, really. You've got to have the right attitude, you've got to be a cool person. But you know, I think the personality is such as big a deal as the rider, you know, because there's a lot of good riders out there who are total assholes, and like, you know, and yeah, especially in today's world, you know, where it's like it's all online, you know, that stuff matters a lot, yeah. Very important, because I think they're like probably the biggest part of the pie, really. Yeah, you got product, you've got the media behind it, which is the videos and the website and everything, and then you've got the riders, you know. But well, I mean, if any part of it's wrong, it's wrong. But the riders is very important. Yeah. We've kind of jived people up online about riding gyros and brakes and that, just to see what they'll say, and people bite for that stuff, and they're like, you know, Ronnie said, well, you've got gyro tabs on your frame, you know, why, you know, what's this all about? And you're like, man, you just like winded them in, you know. So yeah, of course there's going to be some rivalry. I think it's not like it used to be though. Yeah, everyone's kind of friends, really. Yeah, behind the scenes of it all, you need a bit more rivalry. Remember all that stuff with like S&M Bikes and Homeless and that back in the day, you know, with the placing the adverts in the magazine, slagging each other off. That was good. need to start some of that. I don't want to get punched in the face though. The sales side of it's totally changing as well, or has totally changed, because you've got independent bicycle shops which are kind of getting smaller, non-existent, you know. Online selling has become a really big thing, and you know, people get annoyed about these things, but it's just the way of the world, really, you know. And if you look, you don't go to the corner shop to buy all your groceries, because you probably go to Tesco because it's cheaper, you know, and you know, you might order your groceries online or whatever, and the BMX is going that way, just like ASOS or whatever else, you know. You just kind of have to embrace it and go with the flow, really, you know. It's good to support the local shops though, and I think they're really important. Like, look, I think we've got a great company, we've got a great team, we've got great people I work with, well, the people I work with here is my wife Rachel, and Dave Sowerby and Kaj, and this is our full-time job running BSD. And to be able to work with those people every day is great, you know. I get to talk to cool people every day. We get to make cool things, you know. Like, I mean, say design a grip or a tyre or something, you know, work on it for a long time, and then it comes by UPS and you get to see it. There's always a sense of excitement when you do that, or the new stickers, or you know, getting everything ready for Interbike, or you know, or getting just to go and ride with the guys on a trip or something. Which I don't get to do that often these days, but it's all part of my job, and it's great, you know. So yeah, we just keep on doing what we're doing, developing new products, making videos, you know, hanging out with the team, having fun. If I didn't like it anymore, I wouldn't do it, I think, because I could go do something else. But it's a privilege getting to do your own thing. It really is, yeah.
Never get to bed, never get to heaven, never get too cool till you stop paying your dues. Oh yeah, what can a papa do? Better go back to your mama.
BMX is in your face all the time. Maybe 10 years ago you would have watched every video on the come up, but now you probably go through and choose the ones you're going to watch because there's so many, you know. So it's you need to try and make videos that are going to be noticed in among kind of all the noise, because like the normal riding video with a song isn't necessarily what people are watching so much anymore, because people are vlogging, and you know, there's Instagram, people can see like 15 seconds or a minute of BMX on there, you know, and it's like back, and I don't want to go on about back in the day and how it's better and that, because it's just different, you know, it's a different time. But if you're looking up to Ryder as your hero and you don't know much about him, you know, there's like a mystique there, and you've seen a cool picture in a magazine, like a fisheye shot of someone doing a turn down on a ramp, you're like, oh, look at that bike, it's like California, the dream, everything else, you know, that we grew up with. And now you see a vlog of this guy, and he's filming himself for 10 minutes plus every day because he's making YouTube money, you know, and he's just a guy going to the shop to buy a coffee and whatever else, you know, this, you're just like, oh, it's just like everyone else, there's nothing cool about that guy, why do I want to buy his bike, you know, like, now maybe some of those guys do it right and it's good for them, but for the people that are doing it wrong, they're kind of shattering the illusion of, you know, their BMX image or their image in general, you know. The thing is that people are growing up in a time when likes matter, you know, and it's like their feedback is how many likes and how many views they get, and this riders get paid for that, yeah. So you know, people are getting contingency money or whatever from the sponsor depending on how many views they get on their video and all this. So it's their feedback. So yeah, we can laugh about it or say it sucks, but it's the reality of the world today, you know. So.
Country girl, take my hand, let me through this disease land. I have time, I have way, I have won. I have stole, I have sinned, oh my soul is unclean.
I think there's lots of different things there. Contests, you know, what can I say? I mean, they need to evolve as well, yeah. So like we had the street jam last year and it was raining, but still there was about 200 riders out because it's something different to do. But if you're just having a skate park contest at the same place, the same thing, you know, where you're giving out grips and stickers or prizes or whatever, people like kind of, they won't change, you know. So, but yeah, social media as well. Yeah, you can, like I said, you know, you can get your BMX fix any time of the day, you know. So I mean, we've seen it with like contests where people don't show up from Glasgow at the unit, yeah, because they're like, oh, I've seen it all before, and do you know what I mean? Yeah. No, it is worrying, but then, you know, they've got their scene where it's like more like, oh, we'd rather go street riding and watch guys ride a bowl, you know. So I mean, BMX is split off into so many different things now as well. I can see it both sides, and I looked at other bike companies in the industry. You've got, is it Canyons, like a mountain bike and road bike brand? So they're making really good bikes, but you can only buy them directly online, and you can buy them a lot cheaper because you're cutting out the middleman. And I can see why someone's doing it. I think that it's a shame for the kids who buy them and the bike shop won't fix it for them because they didn't buy it in that bike shop. But I mean, that's the same with any online sale. I think for kids who are getting into BMX and getting what's a relatively decent bike for half the price, that's a good thing. I think what you see is pretty much every brand's going to start selling online on their website, which most of them do. We do. You can buy stuff. You don't necessarily sell a lot there, but there's a lot of distributors in a lot of countries that can't buy every single colour and every item. So if you're the kid in Croatia who's looking for a pair of like green safari pedals and the local shop's only got black ones, then at least you could buy them here, you know, or you could buy them on any online shop. But the direct to customer thing, cutting out the middleman, no, I don't see that happening, you know, because it's not in brands' interest to do that. Like for that small place, they're going to sell things through Amazon and themselves only. They're cutting away a lot of the other outreach for the brand.
Understand if I must say I give both his wings away and steal a car to drive you home. I don't look back on an empty field.
These guys that I ride with like every week, like Timmins and Gogo especially, but there's Wingnut and, you know, Parky and, you know, the guys that work here and everything else, and the riders, we've been riding together a long time, and especially Gogo and Timmins, you know, I've known them since like, what, 27, 28 years, something like that, and we ride together like a few times a week, every week, you know, and we're really lucky to have that, you know. And there was times in the past where, like 10 years ago, we went to Australia, not me and my wife, on a holiday, and I wanted to move there, you know, and then we wanted to move to the States, and it would have been great to go and live in the warmth and all that, but what you're giving up here as well, you know, it's like we do have like something pretty unique that we get to ride together and keep progressing as well, you know. So I don't know, we push each other, and we ride with a lot of young people as well all the time, and we get to ride probably one of the best skate parks in the world, I think. Yeah, we're just having fun, but like I feel like a lot of us are riding better than we ever did, you know. A cycle road bike is one thing I do, like to and from work, and I try to do a bit every week, and that helps with a little bit of fitness for riding, I think. And then we ride like a few times a week, which, you know, and it's more tiring these years, but yeah, no, that's about it really. It's just have a laugh. Yeah, don't go to the pub like we used to. I couldn't really manage that anymore. You know? I think riding keeps you sane. What I love is it's something good to do for anyone. Yeah, it's accepted nowadays. You know, it's like it's not such a big deal for a 40-year-old guy to be riding down the street in a BMX. Not in Glasgow anyway. I don't think anywhere. And that's one of the things of it being a bit more mainstream has been a good thing. I think it's a cool thing to do. I think it's viewed in a better light. What do I hate? It's the social media side of it. You know, the thing that, you know, maybe like vlogs and whatever else are taken away from, you know, people viewing the real BMX thing, you know, I think, in a way, yeah. That kind of sucks in a way, but it's what it is, really, yeah. I think in general, BMX is in a great place, you know. The bikes are better than ever, you know, the right people are in control of it, yeah. There's good places to ride, yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good, yeah. I think the thing, Harrow's is a real exception because those are really, the graphics and paint jobs and everything are really classic. The stuff was amazing looking back then, and you know, Harrow really lost their way kind of like from '93 onwards. He's actually putting pride back into like something from a long time ago. So I think it's really good what they're doing, you know. And the bikes, you know, because a lot of bikes kind of look almost the same nowadays, you know. If you see a lot of complete bikes, they're just like all black, whatever. Yeah, that stuff looks really cool. Kids are seeing that stuff and haven't seen it before, and they're like, wow, look at that bike, it's amazing. I think it's just cool for them to see something different, you know. Yeah. I don't know if they see it in the light of as a tribute. They just think it's like something they've never seen before. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a nod to the past in the correct way, not just making an old bike, you know, the way it was made, which is just no use to anyone really, you know. Yeah, well, I mean, it's two ways here. I think the good thing about the Ride On page is it's about riding, and it makes it clear it's not about, you know, polishing your set of hutch pedals or something like that, you know. There's a reason they don't make that stuff anymore, and it's because it wasn't very good, you know. It's really cool and it's nostalgic, and it, you know, I think for a lot of people they couldn't afford to buy it back then, so they really, you know, they lust after it and they get it now, and that's great. But my point of view of BMX, and I think is yours as well, it's about riding, not about having pretty things, you know. Yeah, it's strange. I was thinking the other day, I'm in my 40s now, lucky to still ride, but it just seems like such a long time ago everything happened now. I can barely remember what happened in the 80s, you know, as a little kid. Yeah, I think it probably made me independent and be able to make my own decisions and to be happy to go and try something else rather than just be part of the crowd. Yeah, because I didn't really ever feel that I was part of the crowd. So, and I remember taking so much shit for that, and I didn't care. And you know, that's kind of a punk rock thing that BMX was that maybe isn't anymore. You know, it still is a bit, though. Yeah. It's not football. Yeah.